Ave Maurice Dei Mater Alma, atque semper Virgo, Felix te.
Good evening, Charlotte. This is Steve Cunningham of sensusfidelium.com.tv and the YouTube channel you may or may not know of. Now with the great channel here promoting the Sensus Fidelium Hour. So you got me for an hour here in Charlotte, North Kakalaki. Good to be with you. Good to see you. I'm originally from South Carolina, Cowpens to be exact. So I'm I guess you could say a foreigner to your neighbors to the south. But now I'm in just east of Charlotte, grown to love the diocese. I've liked it for quite some time since my reversion. And I'm happy to help out in any way humanly possible with them. So without further ado, if you have any questions, email Jason. He can send them to me and I can get back to you or whatever. But anyways, wanted to this is a challenge for October. How this is going to be. What I want to do is show you the good, the true, the beautiful. Challenge you to become better, more saintly, more holy, things like that. I don't care about the liturgical wars. I personally hate them. It bores me to tears. It gets nothing done, and I don't want to be around it. My thing is, if we become saints, we will win whatever the problem is, which isn't the ultimate goal of heaven. I don't want to turn the mass into an idol. It's the means to an end. It is not the end. Now, we are supposed to be great at it. We're supposed to be reverent, etc. And he's supposed to have reverent masses, yes. But I'm not going to go out there and say, you stink, you stink, you stink, you stink. I'm better, I know it all, blah, blah, blah. Not saying a lot of people do, but there's an attitude out there that is, and I dislike it, and I want to avoid that like the plague. There's a lot of great things happen in this diocese. I consider one of the best out there, and I will do anything to help out and promote what's going on here. So let's talk about some things let's shine some reality into things before this challenge. Because with a challenge, it's good to come out there and say, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. A little bit of my background, I played 2 sports in college. Basketball in junior college at Spartanburg Methodist College, and then baseball at University of South Carolina, Aiken. I wasn't very good at it because I'm right here with you. There's one guy, when I did Uber for 4 years in Denver, Colorado, asked me when he heard I played, and he asked me, so how good were you? I go, I'm driving you, aren't I? So it's just one of those things. I'm kind of brutally honest. Underneath my baseball cap, I had the words, you stink, underneath it, because I never wanted to get a big head. And there were some guys on the team that thought we played for the 1927 Yankees. We didn't take it too seriously. We like to have fun. As one, we'll bring it up in the later topics, but 3 cheers for joy was a motto of a certain bishop in Vietnam. And most probably would think, oh, well, that's cool and all. Well, this bishop had all his priests were getting slaughtered. If you ever heard of the Saint Théophane Venard, he was the first original, quote-unquote, Little Flower. St. Therese of the Little Flower and of the Holy Face. That's her whole name, by the way. I'm a big devotee of the Holy Face. She loved him. She wanted to be like something like that. And they were pen pals, in a sense. She prayed for these missioners all over the place. Anyway, Théophane, one time he was getting sick, and he would just yell, well, 3 cheers for joy anyways. He thought he was going to die. This bishop, everybody he got into his diocese was killed. And his motto was 3 cheers for joy anyways. So anytime you see something bad happen, 3 cheers for joy anyways. So this challenge, just like anything else, if I wanted to play ball, wanted to play something, coach would challenge you. You want to do this, here's the challenge. If you want to get here, here's the challenge. He just didn't go out there and say, do this. There has to be a why behind it. So I'm going to show you some of the bad things you might not know of, or you might just think, all things hunky-dory, all things of sunshine and lollipops going on. Let's put a little different spin on that. Again, good, true, beautiful. This is true. But again, and then most of the times don't think I'm slamming things. I'm just showing you the hardcore reality on ideas that you probably haven't heard of. Might be on my show Clown Planet before, if you've been following. I do a new show on that called Clown Planet, where I'm just showing what I want to do is get the craziness out there so people understand what we're up against. It's the art of war. If you know your enemy and you know yourself, you got a high chance of winning. If you don't know your enemy, you know yourself, 50-50. If you don't know either, you ain't got a chance of winning. So, without further ado, now this was last year. Tennessee doctors Tennessee Diocese, excuse me, for my English-speaking audience, I will try to read that better. Tennessee Diocese to offer a Vax booster clinic at Cathedral Hall warns dissenters will be arrested. Think about that. Dissenters will be arrested at the cathedral for this. Now, you know all this. This was from February 8th, 2022. You know the things behind what has happened since. I'm not going to get this channel banned for the first show, but you know the stats. It hasn't been good, and it's going to get worse. RT. This was March 22nd, 2019. Catholic churches in France vandalized, set on fire, and smeared with excrement. Photos, video. Here's just a photo of St. Sulpice in Paris. So you see what's been going on. This is back in, what did I say it was? 2019? 2019. I think there's another one. We'll just get to it when I get to it. Bishop Lobsinger forbids Spanish and French for confession and last rites. This is in LA, Diocese of LA. There's a lot of Spanish-speaking people out there. I don't know. I didn't know there was a big French population. I have no idea. But there's a lot that hurts. So it's just not it's just not the church en masse getting hit. Bishop Vedder cancels all 1962 land masses in the Diocese of Helena. This was February 1st, 2022. I think this was right in the wake of TC, Traditionis Custodes. It's the one that came out with Pope Francis Motu Proprio. I'm going to skip this one because I think it's apt for today. Major overhaul will leave Chicago Archdiocese with 123 fewer parishes by July. The Chicago Archdiocese had 2,400 priests in 1975. That included diocesan, religious order, and retired priests. Today, there are 1,200.
Have been learning that their parish is merging or closing altogether. Critics say Cardinal Blaise Stupich's program called Renew My Church is just the opposite. The latest on where this all stands now from Marianne Ahern. Marianne.
Allison, here are the challenges. Far fewer priests, less people in the pews, as well as donations are down. Then throw in church buildings that need repair, and the Chicago Archdiocese says it had to take on big changes.
Do you feel nobody's leading you? Part of the church was always to lead.
Renetta Grissik's parish, Our Lady of Victory, closed last November after more than 115 years on the northwest side. The Archdiocese's major downsizing means that while there were 344 parishes in 2018, by July 1st, there will be just 221. Father Jason Maliv is the spokesman for Cardinal Blaise Stupich's initiative, Renew My Church.
We're becoming much more mission-centered, that is for sure.
I get it, but this is a very big campus, and the big question is, why was this one selected to be closed?
On the south side, there's a for rent sign at Corpus Christi's former school. That parish closed as well. A major factor for the downsizing. In 1975, the Archdiocese had 2,400 priests. That included diocesan, religious order, and retired priests. Today, there are just under 1,200. As the parishes merge, they are often given new names. Chicago Catholics, though, have often identified themselves by,
"What parish are you from? What about that? Will people in Chicago still say that?"
We are such a parochial church. Absolutely. We know where we grew up, but how the collected people call themselves, that certainly is going to take a lot of time to get used to.
It's just, I won't play the whole thing. If you want to see it, it's in the show. We'll put it in the show notes. But missionary church, it's the opposite of missionary. Change is difficult. Cincinnati Archdiocese launches Shake Up that reaches almost every parish. Diocese of Cincinnati on Friday launched one of the most ambitious reorganizations in its 200-year history, potentially changing when and where almost 500,000 Catholics attend Mass, school, and other activities connected to their faith. Known as Beacon of Light, you talk about gaslighting, the restructuring process will combine the Archdiocese's 208 parishes into 60 families of parishes, which will begin sharing priests and resources as early as next year. Beacon of light, huh? Tell them it's supposed to be good. Here's a Muslim lady praying at a Catholic church. Well, I'll mute that because I don't want to put any demonic prayers in there. So you see what that's going on. That's in France, I think it is. Saint-Sulpice, yeah. Ottawa church cancels mass for fear of trucker unrest, but admits they're well-behaved. U.S. bishop forbids priests to say mass facing tabernacle. Bans communion rails. Pro-LGBT bishop bans Adoration liturgy, says land mass goes against church unity. You talk about just, again, when I go to a TLM, I see somebody there's, Vietnamese in front, Mexican behind, to my side, Japanese somewhere else, African to my right. It's the opposite of Babel. It's the vernacular that sections everyone out. You don't talk to the Mexican population. You don't talk to the Vietnamese population. You don't see the Filipinos. You don't see everyone else because it breaks everybody up. Burned church. Blessed Sacrament found. St. Mary's Church in Nachin in Cameroon. Here's a great sermon by Father Rao just yesterday, the 25th of September, regarding the Archbishop's decree on TC and St. Anne's TLM Parish in Perth. What happened is they just took out all their traditional masses except for on Sundays and holy days. Here's Pope Francis having an environmental thing just last week. If you look at his tweets, it was exactly what the WEF, World Economic Forum, if you don't know, has been talking about. The Agenda 2030 project, everything. Needing to get rid of fossil fuels and things like this. Caring more about earthism as the new religion, which, as Patrick Wood says in his book on technocracy, they base it on they look at the gospel their gospel is based on Laudato Si. Here's executive order on technocracy given by Joe Brandon, the President of the United States, on the 12th of September 2022. Most people have no idea this even exists. This is bad. More later. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined, as always, by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, What Exorcists See and What We Should Know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He is with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker and author and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.
Are you a man searching for the truth? Find answers and fellowship in the Carolina Catholic Man Cave every Saturday from noon until 7 p.m. only on the Carolina Catholic Media Network.
Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand. with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Ave Maris
Welcome back, everybody. This is Steve Cunningham with the Sensus Fidelium Hour. Now, if you don't know what Sensus Fidelium means, it's Latin for sense of the faithful. Now, I just gave you, if you were listening, just tuning in, the first segment was on just a few links. And that's just a few links. I could have had a whole gigantic litany of them. Just give you an idea. Now, let's go back over those links with this, not emotional, but motivational spin on it, motivational video. It's by Jocko Willink. It's one of my favorites on it. Good. Okay, I'm going to play it while looking at these.
One of my direct subordinates, one of my guys that worked for me, he would call me up or pull me aside with some major problem, some issue that was going on, and he'd say, "Boss, we got this and that and the other thing." And I'd look at him and I'd say, "Good." And finally one day he was telling me about some issue that he was having, some problem, and he said, "I already know what you're going to say." And I said, "Well, what am I going to say?" He said, "You're going to say good." He said, "That's what you always say. When something is wrong and going bad, you always just look at me and say good." And I said, "Well, yeah, when things are going bad, there's going to be some good that's going to come from it. Didn't get the new high-speed gear we wanted? Good. Didn't get promoted? Good. More time to get better. Oh, mission got canceled? Good. We can focus on another one. Didn't get funded. Didn't get the job you wanted. Got injured. Sprained my ankle. Got tapped out? Good. Got beat? Good. You learned. Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution. That's it. When things are going bad, don't get all bummed out, don't get startled, don't get frustrated. If you can say the word good, guess what? It means you're still alive. It means you're still breathing. And if you're still breathing, well, then hell, you still got some fight left in you. So get up, dust off, reload, recalibrate, re-engage, and go out on the attack.
Now, people get a little upset at me sometimes on that. So, how can this be good? Well, yeah, bad things are happening. Two things you can do about it. Move forward, as he said. Engage, where you can cower in the corner, whine and complain, and act like a victim. That's easy to do. It's easy to go on Twitter and talk about how bad things are. It's easy to write a blog and talk about and condemn other people. It's easy to destroy. It's hard to build. It's easy to throw in the towel and get upset and say, "Oh, this is over." It's hard to take up all your sacramentals, go into a field and hand them out to anybody that walks by and invite them to a mass. It's easy to say, "Well, traditional mass is getting done. I enjoy the traditional mass. I haven't gone out and yelled at the Pope one time yet. In this diocese, I was hoping for the pre-55 during the Triduum. Sure, it was disappointing. It was big time disappointing when we heard that we weren't going to have it. Did I go after His Excellency? Nope. I was telling other guys, back off. There's a reason why, and the weather conditions, if we haven't figured it out yet, isn't good. So if you want a John Chrysostom, if you want a St. Athanasius, we need to be prepared to lose that St. Athanasius. Because what happened, if you know church history, the bishops that did that got exiled. No, you never read about what happened to the laity afterwards. You hear about what happened to John Chrysostom when he got exiled, Athanasius, etc. Some even died out there in exile. Some got called back. But you never hear about how the laity went. If you're out there thinking, oh, he should do this, he should do this. Armchair quarterback. I haven't watched a Panther game in 3 years. Big time Panther. I didn't miss a play. I didn't miss a snap. Never missed a kickoff. We used to have season tickets back in the late 90s, early 2000s when you actually could afford to go. Can't go. Why? Trannies out on the field. It's hard. I love the game. Love to play. Love to go to the games. Yeah, it's easier that the whole team was pretty much squashed and moved on, and there was a whole new group of people in uniforms. So basically, like one guy joked, you're basically rooting for people in laundry. So what laundry you want to root for today? That team or that team? It's laundry teams. Yeah, I miss it. I miss baseball. I miss watching that. Love it. My nephew somehow or other is listening on radio. It's great. We used to listen to radio when we were teenagers, especially in Aiken, because we were growing up Cincinnati Red fans. And my dad was St. Louis Cardinals fans. So we watched the Cardinals and Reds. I couldn't tell you, and I could put a gun in my head. I couldn't tell you who's on the teams of either the Panthers, Reds, or Cardinals right now. Well, take that back. I know Pujols is because if watching the news, he just hit number 700. No clue. I can't support those. Can't support what's going on. Disney, same thing. So what do we do about it? Again, all those things. You can participate in what's going on. We can stand up and try to be part of the solution. Problem or solution? In this, like I said, you see what's going on. I've been following the craziness for the last 2 years. I try every day to bring at least the attention to somebody new. You don't want to hear about my hospital experience last. My wife just had our third baby last week. I had the cops, 3 of them, called on me at the hospital because I wasn't obeying their mandates. I was there in August 2020. Nobody said a word to me. Now, it's nuts in Novan Hospital. If you know anybody or saying like that, I had 3 cops come to the room with my baby, newborn, in my arms. And a cop directly lied to me in my face. And I was ready for whatever was going to come next. You hear people talk about martyrdom all the time. Oh, we can do this. We can do this. How many people can really say, if you can't do these small things, can you do the bigger ones? You hear about the victories of the martyrs. You read that book by St. Alphonsus. Get it. Beautiful book. Fantastic book. Goes into Japanese martyrs in the latter part, and the first pretty much 2/3 is on the early church martyrs. Just beautiful stuff. Fantastic. I got a photo of the 20 Legion, not the 20, the Legion martyrs of St. Maurice. How they just stood their ground and just took it and decimated. And you read about the ones that stood on the ice and just frozen. I remember going out there last winter and said, I don't know if I could do that. I'm cold now and I'm walking out here barefooted. How did these guys stand on ice all night long and make it? One guy ended up, if you know the story, goes into the bath because they were tempting them with a hot tub, in a sense, a hot tub. One left, got there. A Roman soldier ended up seeing the virtue and the faith of the others, the 40, and there was 39 left after him. He took the place to have the number 40 back. What do we do about this stuff? How's your attitude? How's your mindset? We used to say before games, get your mind ready. So if you get punched in the face, what do? How can you stand? How can you keep going? It stinks out there. Yes, it seems like you get bombarded all the time. Punch here, punch there. If you know the clip from was it Rocky 5 or 6 when he's talking to his kid? Life isn't all about sunshine and lollipops. It's about how hard. It's not about how hard you get hit or how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you get hit and can keep going forward. How much you can get pounded in the ground and keep moving forward. Are you one that likes almost like a thank you, sir, give me another. Thank you, sir, may I have another? Or are you one that when the first things that come, you talk a big game, but when the first sign of adversity comes in, you crumble? That's one of the things I think as Jerome talks about, these people that seem all peaceful and talk a good game at first, but then something happens, they turn into Mount Vesuvius. How are you angry? How's your inner soul? Are you reading the lives of the saints, imitating them? Read those guys. You think the church is bad now? You ever heard the cadaver synod? The Pope literally dug up the previous Pope, put him on the stand, charged him for basically, condemned him to the fifth realm of hell, cut off his fingers that he blessed, stripped everybody he ordained of their orders, and threw his body into Tiber. The next Pope got him out, buried him again, gave him a proper burial, and then gave back all the faculties to all the priests. The next Pope comes in, takes them all away. Imagine CNN or MSNBC at that time. They'd have a field day with that. You ever heard that? I talked to one person. She was all worried. The church is going to, in a handbasket. Told her that story. She never heard of it. Her husband said, thank you. She was all uppity because all the blogs you're reading, all the negativity, no one ever says, hey, suck it up. Embrace the suck. Military lines. There's another one I heard. Suffer in silence. There was a Marine that was the waiting water. I hated that. We had to do that for baseball. He was trying to breathe. He couldn't get up, and he's just keeping up there. And the drill sergeant comes by. I can hear you moan and groan and sigh. Suffer in silence. Can we do that? Anything like that? Do we have to tweet it out? Tell everybody, tell the world what's going on. Act like we know, have like this Gnostic idea. We know what is going on, and here's why. And this is terrible. You need to go here. Where's the virtue and obedience? That's the holy weapon. I know there was a thing about the Freemasons saying that they were going to use the tool of holy obedience against the church. Well, we don't take up the vice of disobedience. We keep our weapons and use it against. I'll have more on that on the next break.
Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand, with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Are you a man searching for the truth? Find answers and fellowship in the Carolina Catholic Man Cave every Saturday from noon until 7 p.m. only on the Carolina Catholic Media Network.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined, as always, by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, what exorcists see and what we should know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He is with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker, an author, and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.
Hey, welcome back to the Sensus Fidelium Hour. Hey, I've gone over the litany of badness that's happened. You probably heard about the pro-life leader that got arrested at home. Things are bad. Remember, DC has come out saying that we are domestic terrorists. Anybody that doesn't agree with them are domestic terrorists. We. That's why I go with Jocko said, good. One priest, Father Abernathy, mentions in his Ladder of Divine Ascent series, which if you go on the YouTube channel of mine, Sensus Fidelium, you'll see, which the Ladder of Divine Ascent, if you don't know of this, is a life-changing book. St. John Climacus wrote it for monks. He was begged to write it for him. He was the head of one of the monasteries there. And if you ever heard of a fellow named St. Philip Neri, he had two favorite books, John Cassian's Conferences and the Ladder of Divine Ascent by St. John Climacus, who called Rome his desert. And it's just strings. You can see it up here. I have an icon right up there of it. You can see the bottom. And it's just the ladder, getting up to heaven. How do you get it? Exile, obedience, detachment. Those are the first three rings. Not in that order. I messed up the order. But check it out. But Father Abernathy goes, Rome is taking away things right now. And I don't know why. Maybe it's kind of like a slap across the face to wake us up. Kind of like cold water being thrown on us. Getting you motivated. I see all these things. It gets me excited. Okay, we're public enemy number one. Good. The church is coming after us. Good. The traditional mass is getting pulled away from many places. Okay, good. Are we supposed to be comfortable? Are we wanting comfort, ease, fortune? How many saints do you heard of? Now, there are some that, went through life with wealth. But how many do you read of that went through with no pain, no suffering? Lived in, money coming out of the heavens. Always not worried about the bank account. Everything was going well for them. Family was blessed. You have get new cars and this, that. I remember I was working at Time Warner Cable back in the day before my reversion. I kind of got back in there. My brother texted me up once. Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance in Christ, which that's St. Jerome, whose feast day is in a couple days here, wrote. And that was the first time I looked at it and go, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I texted him back, what's next? What else you got? And I dove in after that. I don't remember where I was going with that story, but sometimes you need a splash, knock across your face, a splash of water in you to wake you up, get you going. You don't know what's going to be. Maybe you have that person in your life that you're begging, please come back into the church. May happen, may not. Penance. Lord, Our Lady of Lourdes said to St. Bernadette, penance, penance, penance. Penance is needed. Not complaining. Fatima, she told the three seers, can you do penance? Look at any approved Marian apparition, you're going to see the word penance in it. You ever heard of priests going into prisons, incarceration centers? They would check the priest when they came out, lifting up his cassock and check his knees. Why? see if he was a priest or not. If he had calluses on his knees, he was a priest. It was just some guy just borrowing in the cassock, trying to make an escape. They didn't see any calluses on his knees. Do we have calluses on our knees, or are there calluses on our fingers from typing and tweeting? Might be something to think about. The October Challenge, coming up from a man named Father Mateo, his autobiography of him, or biography of him, called The Firebrand. He is the apostle of the Sacred Heart. He wrote this book, Jesus, King of Love. Now you see that image right there. That's the one that Father Mateo, he's the apostle of the Sacred Heart. I don't know if I just said that or not. But he used that image. How that image got here was Garcia Moreno. Can you see him? If I go the other way. If you're watching on the TV, that's him right there. He's the Catholic president of Ecuador. He martyred in the 1800s, prophesied by Our Lady good success to be a president would come by, which at that time no one ever heard the word president. And he ended up converting Ecuador, which I'll rewind. He was in France where his conversion, big time conversion happened. And he heard about what in Sensuality, you saw the videos beforehand. In Sensuality, he heard about the French consecration of the Sacred Heart and what happened with it because the king did not follow the conditions. So he was terrified that would happen to Ecuador. And he ended up getting that drawn. You can't see it well. If you see me at conferences, I hand that out all the time. I go to Vistaprint, I get a bulk for like, I don't know, $12-15. I can't remember anymore. Both of those. Our Lady of Sorrows, Our Lady of Quito, Ecuador. And if you look at it, you'll see the rays from his Sacred Heart coming on to Ecuador. Christ the King. Okay? So they kill Moreno, who, by the way, taught the Pius IX all the time to ask how to govern, pretty much how to run Ecuador. Leo XIII called him the greatest, the epitome of a Catholic government. So pretty good. He was again martyred. He went to Mass all the time. He consecrated Ecuador to the Sacred Heart, again, using this banner as the banner for it. Took a big cross, which you can still see at the cathedral there, and led the way doing reparation for the country of Ecuador at that time. As he called it, the worst country in America, because America is not just the United States of America. There's South and North America. So they called themselves Americans. The country of Ecuador. So he was doing mortification and penance for it. He ended up, after his third reign, I guess you could say, or his election, he ended up getting killed by the Freemasons after he was praying. And his daily thing was going to the cathedral to pray, hear Mass, do adoration, come out, and then start doing his daily duties. Somebody came in, lied to him, said somebody's needed out in the courtyard. He was ambushed by a bunch of guys. I think it was about 8 guys. Hacked him, shot him, cut his ear off, stuck a sword in his head. And he didn't die right off the bat. If you go check out the site where he died, it will say in Spanish, God does not die. And that was his last words. It was underneath, and he died underneath Our Lady of Sorrows, the altar there. Anyway, so they ended up hiding his body because they didn't want the Masons to mutilate it and destroy it. They also hid that image. And they put it in mothballs on top of in the attic somewhere. So fast forward years later, Father Mateo goes into the seminary. He's like 13, 14, 15. He's very young. Wanted to go into the seminary. I think his dad was Protestant and his mom was Catholic. I think it was, and vice versa. I have to read that part again. Not important, but it was one of the parents. He goes into seminary as a young lad with all these grown men. And they're picking on him being a young runt, basically. Anyway, a few years later, he goes up in her attic and he unrolls something, and he finds that all dusty off. He dusts it off because this is beautiful. Asks one of the people, what's this about? He goes, this is from the Garcia Moreno's Sacred Heart, the Christ the King of Garcia Moreno. And he goes, we hid it from up there from the Masons. We thought it was lost. They were trying to destroy it. So he put it up in his cell, basically, on one of the walls. Big earthquake hits. Knocks down everything except the wall that this image was hanging on. He took that as a sign that he should use that as a banner to promote the Sacred Heart. And promote he did. If you read the story of the enthronement of the Sacred Heart, imagine traveling now. This is back, I think, like I said, early 1900s. Delta wasn't around. United Airlines wasn't pumping out, frequent flyer miles. This guy traveled the world repeatedly. He called Chicago. Think of this. No Chicago, how it's going up now. Every weekend you look at how many people got killed. He called Chicago the city of the Sacred Heart. If you heard about the enthronement of the Sacred Heart, it's because of Father Matteo Crowley Bovary. I think this is how you say his last name. He went to get permission from Pius X to do this. And Pius X immediately goes, no, I don't grant you permission. I order you to do this. And this is a guy that was pretty much had bad health. He had gout, I think, in his legs. When he got to Paris, the nuns say that they thought he was going to die on the steps. He was so exhausted. This was before he even started touring the globe. And not just touring the globe once. Sometimes not even twice. He visits countries multiple times. Think of all the states in this union. He went Vietnam, places in Asia, all of Europe, Africa, South America, traveled everywhere. You had to read, just get the book Firebrand. I hope it's Archangel Press does it, but somebody's got to get it back out there because it is just beautiful. And so he promoted Reparation for the Sacred Heart. He wrote about this thing he also told people to go to adoration all the time. Midnight adoration, especially night adoration. So night adoration would be just going in when just like if you're in sports, the lights are off, you want to get some extra work in. Maybe you're playing in a gym with maybe one light in the corner, or you're running stairs. Coach don't see it, nobody sees it. Only you know about it. Night adoration. How many people stay up for night adoration? How many stay up at night to do anything? So you're sacrificing sleeping to give adoration, reparation to God. People like Blessed Frassati, you probably know Pier Giorgio Frassati. Blessed Giuseppe, I can't think of his name, last name. He was the dentist out in Italy. They had the Catholic Action League back then in Italy. And if you read about that, it's in Jesus King of Love, this book right here. He speaks of it. Thousands of Italian men would do night adoration all night before the first Friday for reparation for Italy and others. Thousands. How many men can you think of now that do it? There's a parish down the street from me. They do it. They do pretty well. I don't know how many else does it. I was surprised, but reparation. You saw what became first, or what the first the litany of all the bad things that were happening. What do you think is going to happen? I'll read more about this coming on the next break.
Are you a man searching for the truth? Find answers and fellowship in the Carolina Catholic Man Cave every Saturday from noon until 7 p.m. only on the Carolina Catholic Media Network.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Murphy for the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas and the Obligation Radio Show here on the Carolina Catholic Media Network. Registration is now open for the 13th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas to be held on March 18th, 2023 at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Church. It's going to be an amazing day of faith, fellowship, and prayer. Of course, we'll be joined, as always, by our own Bishop Peter Jugas of the Diocese of Charlotte. We also have a great lineup of speakers, including Charles Frawny. Charles is the author of Slaying Dragons, What Exorcists See and What We Should Know. He's going to be there to discuss spiritual warfare. Also joining us, Jonathan Fanning. He is an author, speaker, an entrepreneur, and a father. Coming to us from High Point, North Carolina, the Diocese of Charlotte, is Deacon John Clark. Deacon is a former NYPD SWAT officer and former MMA fighter. You won't want to miss this one. Scott Weeman is going to be another one of our speakers. He is with Catholic in Recovery. He's going to talk to us about addiction and recovery for Catholics. And our MC this year will be Kevin Spalding. Kevin is a speaker and author and business life coach. You can go online now to www.catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. Make sure to use the promo code RADIO and save $5. We look forward to seeing you there on this awesome day full of faith, fellowship, and prayer. For the Catholic Men's Conference Carolinas, the Obligation Radio Show, my name is Jason Murphy. God bless and Esto Vir.
Hello, Carolina Catholic Media family. This fall brings more new programs and ideas to grow your Carolina Catholic Media apostolate. You'll find all access to our local programs on air, online, and on demand, with nearly 1,000 audio podcasts and YouTube videos available in our vast library. You'll hear more local parish, school, and ministry news, plus big events being held throughout the fall. Be sure to ask about reserving a Carolina Catholic live broadcast for your event. We encourage you to get involved, come join us, and catch the spirit. The Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are 100% funded by you. Please consider a one-time donation, a monthly pledge, a business sponsorship, or perhaps becoming a program underwriter. Every dollar supports our evangelization mission to spread the truth of Jesus Christ and our Catholic faith across the Carolinas. Thank you for discerning a role in the Carolina Catholic Media Apostolate. May God bless you abundantly.
Welcome back to the Sensus Fidelium Hour. This is Steve Cunningham with sensusfidelium.tv.com and the favorite YouTube channel of millions, well, just a couple 100,000 across the globe. All right, final segment. Here's the challenge that I'm bringing up. First, let's go with this sermon that a priest, can't remember where he's from, gave when they found out they were getting the Trisha Master cut down. It may be well just to take a few days to reflect and pray and ask our Lord and our Lady to console us and then instruct us what to do. We need to ask the Holy Spirit to guide us and to not let the devil attack us by filling us with fear. I hate the fear. We had 2 years of fear. Take that back. 2001, we have 21 years of fear. I mean, how many times they pushed that in your face? By the way, they extended the emergency terrorist thing another year. Thanks to Joe Biden for 9/11. So that's another fear. Fear. When you get fear, you're going to be watching Fox, CNN, MSNBC. They promote fear. They need fear. Blogs need fear for the people to watch them. Again, look at my channel versus other bloggers. My channel has priests doing sermons. Or if we do a resistance podcast, I'm trying to promote something that most people have never heard of before. Or read something and try to get people motivated to become saints. You look at most blogs, they tell you about the worst things that are happening over and over and constantly talking about this. You talk about the hyper-papalism, it's usually the guys that can't stop talking about what's going on out there. The battle between God and Satan is in our hearts. If we are obedient, then we steal power from the devil who wants us to be divided. Don't let the enemy make things worse. The demonic will attack our weaknesses in every way at this time. We are to pray, Jesus, I trust in you. We should reject and renounce any hatred. St. Padre Pio, whose feast day was a couple days ago, who had an 8-year term of not being able to celebrate Mass publicly, was obedient and he was victorious. I bring that up to many people. How many forget that Padre Pio had the church, basically keep him from saying Mass? Did he go out there and say, no, go pound? Someone wrote on Twitter the other day, we should tell him to go pound sand. Do you hear Pio ever saying that? You hear Pio going, no. He offered it up. He took that, accept the cross. Another line, you ever heard of this in Holy Scripture? You take up that cross, Do you believe that the gates of hell will prevail? If you don't, if you believe that Jesus Christ, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, said the gates of hell will not prevail against my church, do you believe him or not? Do we have faith that he said that or not? He's sleeping in the boat. You read about the one with the storm in the boat. He's sleeping. Dom Garanger, who everyone should read. Fantastic. He writes in his the epistle commentary about how on Saints Peter and Paul Day, feast day, how a little hut was praying hope against hope that something would happen, that the Pope would get freed. And here they were, and his words were, this little hut was more powerful than the entire army holding in Peter. And he goes, sometimes you need to send an angel to slap the Pope upside the head to wake him up. You can also do that. We got to, as Mateo says, we have to pay the price. There was a story in this about a lady who was praying for the conversion of her family. She was the daughter every night, and she probably wasn't old because probably was a teenager, low 20s, because she was at home still. The parents saw the light on at night. Finally, the dad went up, knocked on the door, thinking she was sick or something. What's going on up here? She goes, I've been praying for your conversions for, I don't know, weeks, years, months, something like that now. And I do this for how many, an hour or two a night, maybe all night. And he was touched at that, to the point that they became fervent Catholics again. They didn't even go to Mass anymore. Hear about how many people don't go to Mass anymore? Since the lockdowns, how many people come back to Mass? How many people left? I know a bunch that don't go anymore. How many do you know? You thought it used to be the joke of how many people fell away from faith. Now it's how many people don't go to Mass after 2020, 2021. All right? There's a lot of people. What are we doing about it? Are we educating? Are we promoting? We doing this? We doing reparation? Are we putting in the time and fighting to help not only others' conversions, but strengthening our hierarchy, praying for the Pope like this. The whole night adoration, this is going into the night adoration of the home. It's a whole thing, a bunch of prayers for the Pope in this. Big time prayers for the Pope in this. Here's one of the things from chapter on page 155 of Jesus King of Love. Again, as Mateo says, the price needs to be paid. You have no doubt read and deeply appreciate the encyclical of His Holiness Pius XI on reparation, and you must have realized the necessity of consoling the heart of Jesus. You cannot better put into practice our Holy Father's desire than by carrying out night adoration in the home. And we could not have better interpreted the Holy Father's wish had we organized this work after his encyclical. Read again and ponder over that magnificent letter, and you will find, even in tiny details, that we are in perfect harmony with the Sovereign Pontiff's views and advice. I would emphasize here, after his example, 2 grave sins for which the night adorers should make reparation in a special way. First, the revolt of pride, which is a lofty attitude and want of submission, that non serviam, I will not serve, which is so opposed to the obedience unto death, even unto the death of the cross of the Son of God. Secondly, the sin of sensuality, which is met within the drawing rooms of distinguished people, at the seaside, and even in our churches, under the form of immodest fashions, very often patronized by careless Catholic women who, by their shameless clothing or lack of it, are real sowers of mortal sin, ticket sellers of hell. Most of the gravest sins are caused by this revolting indelicacy, and these fashionable Catholics heap up for themselves a crushing weight of responsibility against the hour of justice. They sow death along their path. They will reap divine vengeance. So at this time, he has how many people doing adoration? In 1 year, he received 24,000 members. This is night adoration at the home. 2 years later, he had counted 42,000. And in the following year, 124,000. Adoration became perpetual in 16 countries. Because at first, this was about once a month. He would ask people, once a month, do this. Maybe twice a month, usually before First Friday. He ended up going always more daring, In October, he proposed to Christian families a means of assured adoration, not only one night each month, but every night of the month. In this manner, the adoration would be perpetual, because so many people were wanting to go that at one point the churches were packed with people doing it, so they couldn't do it. So he came up with this idea of night adoration at the home. What you do is basically, and I have it on the website, you just go into sensusfidelium.com, type in night adoration home, bada bing, you'll see it. Or get the book, Jesus King of Love, it's in there. Or look on Amazon, Adoration at the Home, Father Mateo, you'll see the booklet. I like the booklet. So you pray before a sacred image. Usually he recommends Moreno's Sacred Heart, King of Love, Christ the King image. He can be any. But you're on your knees praying in reparation, the prayers that they've written up for it, in front of the Sacred Heart for an hour. And if you want, you can do the whole family. Starting at 9 p.m. all the way to 6 a.m. You could do, one kind of like tag team. I'm done with my 10 o'clock, where the hour comes, here comes the next one. 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, next one comes. He goes, enclosed in this letter was a list of special intentions assigned to each hour. This was a letter that Father Mateo had. Because he asked, tell me, Reverend Father, whether you approve of my idea. The extension of Christ's kingdom besets me. 9 to 10 is for children and young people. 10 to 11, families where Christ is enthroned as king. 11 to 12, the Pope, priests, and religious. 12 to 1, missionaries and heathen peoples. 1 to 2, heads of government. Reparation for evils of revolt against lawful authority. 2 to 3 a.m., worldly families. 3 to 4, the poor, sick, and tempted. 4 to 5, students for the priesthood and novices. 5 to 6, Catholic schools and their staffs. 6 to 7, enemies of the Holy Church. 7 to 8, bad Catholics, heretics, and schismatics. Goes, as each hour chimes, the sisters may say, writing about a convent, Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, thy kingdom come, and once, Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, may you be known, loved, and imitated. Love is not loved, if you heard that before. Or the Sacred Heart, behold my heart that is loved so much, and nobody really cares. I'm just paraphrasing, obviously. The holy image of the holy face, I use that with it. So it's one side is that, one side is the holy face. Reparation. Our Lord told Sister Mary Sister Mary of St. Pierre, I'm thinking of the Sacred Heart, and I'm looking at the infernal clock which is running down. He goes, I want you to make war on the communists. You ever heard of the golden arrow? In the most holy, most sacred, most adorable, most incomprehensible and honorable name of God, be forever praised, blessed, loved, and adored, heaven and earth and under the earth, by all the creatures of God, for the Sacred Heart of Lord Jesus Christ, most holy sacrament, all turn men. So that was like shooting daggers of love into his heart for reparation for the first 3 commandments. So take this challenge. Do it for October. I'm going to do it. It'll be my second year doing it. If you want something to change, you got to pay the price. Blogging's not going to do it. Tweeting's not going to do it. Putting it on Facebook's not going to do it. Complaining. We got to get on our knees, close that door, and beg heaven, sue heaven, as Garanger writes about. Sue heaven for help. We'll win, but we got to put in the time, just like sports. You just don't walk on the court and go, hey, I'm in the starting lineup. You got to bust your butt on that. Blood, sweat, and tears, they said. Every day. Got to get your mind ready. Every day. That moment's over. Bull Durham. Pitcher gets off the field. That was a great inning. Moment, the catcher. The moment's over. Get ready for the next. And as we say in the Carolinas, keep pounding. God love you. This is Steve Cunningham with Sensus Fidelium. See you next week.
Are you a man searching for the truth? Find answers and fellowship in the Carolina Catholic Man Cave every Saturday from noon until 7 p.m. only on the Carolina